We are at the North Alabama Quartet Convention. With me, the members of the Old Paths, and we want to welcome the Old Paths to gospel music today.
Thank you.
Doug is in the hot seat and founding member of the quartet, so you'd be a good one to introduce everybody else.
Well, I'd be glad to. Singing the bass for the group down here on the right, Mr. Daniel Ashmore. Next to him, singing the tenor, Steve Ladd. And directly behind me, singing the lead, of course, he's a founding member as well, Tim Rackley. And I'm Douglas Rourke. I sing the baritone for the group.
Very good. You did a good job. Let me ask Tim about the name of the group. Where did that name come from?
The biggest thing, a lot of people think we're old men when we show up that's never seen us before. And so, but the people that follow the scriptures, I mean, you know this, the scripture, Jeremiah 6:16, seek the old paths and walk therein, and you shall find rest for your soul. And so when we were looking for a name when we established the group, my father's a pastor, and so he pastored in the Atlanta area. Now he's retired. And he was like, Tim, you guys have kind of just been around the church all your life, basically, and it would just be a fitting name to show your heritage. And a lot of people, our biggest focus is there's all different, paths that people are on, and I came to Christ differently than Doug came to Christ. And we felt like the old paths is what we wanted to stake the ground and say that we're walking in and trying to reach everyone that we can for the Lord.
And you have a unique history, too, and we don't want to go back over all the years, but you guys were the latest, greatest quartet with multiple #1 songs, came off the road, which for most people would be the end of the road, and then you came back, and people love the Old Paths again. How did that happen, especially the decision to get back on the road?
Well,
Tim's daughter, she's what,
23 now.
23.
Yeah.
She needed a kidney transplant, and it was very touch and go for a long time. She had the transplant. Her mom was a perfect match. This was all before I was in the group, but I knew about what was going on, and so they'd be out on the road and wondering if is her body gonna reject the kidney? And just a very stressful time. Doug can elaborate on, but his son walked down a path of drugs and had messed his life up. Just felt we're all one step from stupid. All of us are one step from doing something that just totally messes our life up. And he was in prison at the time, but was scheduled to get out in January of 2016. So, he wanted to be home with his son and help him, because Doug came through all that years and years ago when God saved him. So with Tim, stressed about his daughter and had another child at home as well, young child at the time, and Doug's son getting out, he wanted to be there. And I think that it wasn't a situation where there was turmoil in the group or something bad happened. It was a very honorable thing for, these two guys to do, right at the peak of their success at that time, to say, none of this is worth it if we lose our families, and so that was the reason they went. But Duran is doing great, not had any rejection.
Doing great.
And Doug's son Douglas is out of prison, doing wonderful, expecting their first child very soon. So it was the right thing to do, and I think that's why it was so easy for the group to come back and still have a place in gospel music in the industry, because they did it the right way. It wasn't they aggravated a record label or aggravated a booking agent or did something stupid at a church.
Well, they actually the record company is the ones who approached us.
Yeah.
But I think another reason too that we were successful in coming back, I mean, we added Hall of Fame tenor singer, one of the best tenor singers in gospel music, in my opinion, that has ever sang gospel music, and so that, that don't hurt.
Yeah.
I mean,
But it was the way they done it the right way. They did it for the right reason. It wasn't somebody got mad at another group member. Well, we're busting the group up. It was it's something that it was life, and I feel like maybe it wouldn't have turned out the right way with Douglas and his daughter if they'd have stayed on the road at the time.
I think, and secondly, coming back, I think that we did limited appointments coming right back, so we didn't come out doing the full schedule. So it let all of us get to know each other.
Yeah.
We got to know each other.
For about 2 years we did that.
Yeah, and so Steve was still staying really busy in solo work, and but we got to know each other. So when we fired this thing up full time again, it was like everybody was on board, and it's been a great move adding Daniel and Steve for ownership, because this is a four-way partnership. So there's no bosses. I mean, this is
Daniel's
our
a
group.
little bossy,
That's right.
but there are no
Those singers
bosses.
they're that way. They're that way.
That's what happens when you're basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, that's very unusual. That's
Yep.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, we want longevity. We want to, I mean,
Yeah.
and it's easy for another group to entice another singer. I think
Yeah.
that's why a lot of groups have turnovers. Is I mean, there's no more room to grow there, maybe financially or stability wise, and so they'll go with it. So we're all for it, and we got the same thing invested, and want to see it work, and
Yep.
we're all going to try to stick it out.
Daniel, how did you get connected with the quartet?
Oh my goodness. Well, we have to start with my dad. My dad, his name is Ray, and so they call him Rayther Productions. He's kind of like Bill Gaither.
He's like y'all. Everywhere he goes, he sets up video cameras. It doesn't matter if it's 3 nights in a row he comes to see us. He videotapes every service
Yeah.
or concert.
Rather
Rather.
production.
Needless to say, he's always been encouraging to us by,
Yes.
saying, hey, I'm proud of what you're doing. He videos it, he shows everybody. And so I'm kind of grateful for that, because if he didn't do that, these guys would have never met me. He put a YouTube video up of me singing, and I thought it was awful. My dad loved it. Well, these guys called me because of it. So here I am, 10 years later, and I couldn't be more grateful. A lot of groups, they don't want to give somebody a shot at singing if they haven't had experience. But for these guys, man, it was more about character than it was about your ability. Now, they knew I had the tool. I just needed to learn how to use it. But, it meant a lot to me when these guys hired me, and here I am.
And
10
fellas,
years
I
later.
think he's learned how to use it. pretty
Oh,
well.
Oh, I'd say he's really, really learned how to use
30 years old,
31.
31 years
Wow.
old.
Yeah.
He's just an incredible bass singer.
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And how in the world did you find this tenor?
Chris
Well,
White, that
Chris
we
White. Yeah.
yeah,
Sunlight Records.
yeah, Sunlight Records, Crossroads. He told us that he thought that he could coerce Steve
Yeah.
into coming and doing some limited dates, if it just limited, and of course he was very successful with his solo career at the time. I mean, I was like, he's not going to come sing with a quartet, but we'll gladly sit down and talk. And lo and behold, it was just good timing.
It was right. It was
good timing.
It was the right timing. Just life. When something is come along and it's like, okay, this is something I feel, God's opened the door for, and never dreamed I'd ever be back with a group. Not that I didn't like groups, because I'd always been with groups, but
And one on and one too.
but it just I'd never dreamed I'd be back with a group. I was happy. But I'm happy I don't have to do all the driving and setting up and singing and everything, So it was just the right thing to come along, and I'm grateful and thankful for Chris White to have enough confidence in me, because it was kind of his baby, putting this back together. It was his idea. Doug and Tim really didn't have they weren't looking to get back on the road, from what I've heard, but it was his idea, and we said we'll try it, and it's been a blessing in my life.
That's great. We've known Steve for a while. and
Yeah,
we're
absolutely.
really glad to see him
Yeah.
back with us.
I love
Yeah,
you
we are
and
too.
Miss Jean, and
Yeah.
We love having him. He's been a
Yeah.
huge blessing to our group.
Yeah. Doug, tell me about the new CD.
It's an incredible album with, just super songs.
we had a number 4. Dan was featured on "I Got the Grace, He Gets the Glory," the first single off the album. Went to number 4. Tim, we "Look at All I Lost" was our last single. Powerful song, and it went to number 2. Missed number 1 by just barely, like that much, but
Yeah, we
but
did hit number 1 for several
yeah, we were
consecutive weeks
7
on the
weeks in a row
weekly
on
chart.
Singing News
So,
top 50 chart. So, and we still got some great songs. Our next album won't be out until toward the end of the year, and so we've still got more great songs on there that we feel will minister and be a blessing to people.
and we have a guy that's kind of people would know the name Roger Talley.
Yeah.
He's actually our producer now.
Yeah.
And so
That was his first
that
one
was his
with
Does a
first.
great job.
Yeah, so we're excited to work with Roger with his experience of, he runs the same areas that we now sing, and he kind of knows, and what better person than him? He knows the music.
Yeah,
So,
he's got a little experience.
yeah.
That's
So,
great.
yeah.
Well, to all the members of the Old Pass, it's great to see you. We
Thank
heard
you,
you sing
Ken.
this
Yeah,
afternoon.
thank you,
and it was
Ken.
wonderful,
Thank
as
you.
usual.
Yeah.
And we want to thank you for being on Gospel Music today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.